warrior with the hand. That's what I'm all about. Hunger in my eyes, vengeance in my mouth. They don't want no altercation. Situation gon' get critical. It's best that you be easy. The end gon' be physical. Look, flow like a river. In my veins, loyalty in my waist. Plus revenge in my heart. The truth in every word. Bring light into the dark. And I ain't never lukewarm. Shit out blazing in the season. Got plenty food for thought. Just gotta watch you on feet. Now they walking with them angels. So I guess I got this pistol for no reason. Niggas standing freezing, criticizing all my achievements. Won't make me weak. Nah, it won't make me slack off. These niggas baby backs off. Better witness a back off. I be ripping shit like sackcloth. Dumb dogs all barked out. Behind me say I come full. No room for emotion. So I pour my heart out. This road hard, but I intend to stay. And if it ain't U.P.K, then they in the way. My niggas righteous, they real, they down to something. Flow so deep, you drown a motherfucker. He say he in the truth, oh yeah, bro, this the home. And I don't hate them brothers, I'm just too loyal to my own. Plus what they believe, hard for me to follow. No right me, no head, not even inspired to live and sleep in hollow. So when they ask I'm U.P.K, you tell them absolute. And I ain't sure of my ways for nothing, gotta execute it. Cause I can never die with my tail tucked between my legs. Shit I be thinking, watching my daughters tucked in their bed. They so smart, and a lot of she's so beautiful, but they ain't like other babies. And they daddy far from usual. Now I'm missing cause I'm about my father's business. It ain't about the shit I used to do in that 98 Navy, the 10 level 6. See, without wisdom, this world may be weak. Found out that the truth was spilling. The lies are sweet. Tried everything. I guess me and GEN.YAHANNA had to meet. Now I make the blind see. And I make the dead speak. And teach both my little girls. Cause they fly with a man. They better bring in bloody bed sheets. Chaos match the time. This Glock match my handpiece. And I ain't trying to take them out, but I will defend this house. Or take a check. 144 in that black trench on some hitman shit. She call me 47. Praying for Armageddon. Me and my soldiers dressed for the wedding. Fuck the fame. Ask why tell them I'm loyal to the king.
Maintenant, c'est déjà maintenant, c'est parti. Voilà.
These niggas loving top, man. Fuck all that bullshit, man. You a real motherfucking nigga. Keep dropping that real shit, and niggas gonna get on with that shit. They don't want no smoke with it. Fuck. Pull up to the show, what you tell them? Fuck. Hit them with the roll, what you tell them? Fuck. They don't want no smoke with it. Fuck. Pull up to the show, what you tell them? Fuck. Hit them with the roll, what you tell them? Fuck. They don't they don't want no crowd. You know my motto is fuck 'em, that's all I gotta say. Stole from the rifle that is pocket from a mile away. Still getting women drunk off Hennessy and Alizé. Still with the niggas loading hollow tips inside the cave. Still be on that same shit, but I kinda changed it. Multiplying bitches might not see me with the same bitch, but you might see me riding 95 north in the black mist. 195 horse, power with no flower, couple bottles there, of course. R.I.P. to all my fallen riders in the morgue. Yeah, you know I got the juice, know I got the sauce. And then super fly, pull a tie in the Porsche. I don't need a mommy just to pop out of the drawers. Shorty getting naked cause she know that I'm the ball. Ready for the drama, man, I'm ready for the... If he talking reckless, he don't really love his job. Fuck him to the DA, fuck him to the law. Fuck him cause they got my brother stuck behind them bars. Fuck him to the PD, fuck him to the force. Fuck them to the haters, this what I did in the course. They don't want no smoke, what I tell them. Fuck them. Pull up to their show, what you tell them. Fuck them. They don't want no smoke, what we tell them. Fuck them. They don't want no...
All right, Shalom Israel.
Shalom.
All right, we are the I.S.U.P.K out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under our commanding General GEN.YAHANNA. All right, we've been teaching the truth according to the Bible since 1969. That the so-called black man, the native Indian man, and the Hispanic man are the 12 lost tribes of the nation of Israel. All right, and today is Monday night's history class. I am Priest and Officer Makakobal. All right, and what we're going to be getting into is a little bit on Valentine's Day. All right, so yesterday in the I.S.U.P.K's scripture breakdown class with Officer Galawan, all right, he was touching on the whole holiday of Valentine, all right? And basically, in a nutshell, Valentine's Day is a homosexual celebration. You understand what I'm saying? And a lot of our people, when you say our people, we're talking about blacks, Native Indians, and Hispanics, don't really understand, not aware of the history of a lot of these pagan holidays, all right? So we're going to get into a little bit of the history, all right, because Officer Galawan went through, you know, basically the general consensus of the history of Valentine, and then we're going to go into some scriptures that is going to make the so-called black man understand the spirit behind the whole celebration of Valentine's, and also what the Most High require for us to do, and even examples in times of old where the children of Israel were placed in similar circumstances and situations where we were left to be proved by the Most High. All right, because the name of the class today is that Valentine's Day is a day of warfare and not a day of celebration. That is what the so-called black man don't understand. When these pagan holidays show up, that is a time for the so-called black man, Native Indian man, Hispanic man, woman, and child, right, to fight. And when we say fight, as the scripture show you, our warfare is not a carnal warfare, all right? But we have to fight against the customs, against the traditions of this world, all right? The things that this empire have set up that we fall prey to. For example, yesterday was Valentine's, it had Easter, Christmas, and so forth. This is what the so-called black man must fight against to be able to keep his culture, his tradition, his heritage, his constitution. All right. So with that, let me open it with the scripture. Right, you'll give me the book of Colossians chapter 3 and verse 8. Before we read the article. The book of Colossians chapter 3 and verse 8.
The book of Colossians chapter 3 and verse 8.
Mm-hmm.
But now ye also put off all these: anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy,
right,
filthy communication.
What?
Filthy communication.
Or filthy communication. A lot of times, and a lot of us, you know, being grown up in the Christian church, will hear filthy communication and believe that this is talking about obscene language. This is not talking about obscene language. Filthy communication is speaking things that is not of the Most High,
right,
or speaking against the Most High.
Right.
So what the Most High did not prescribe for the so-called black man, right, is, for example, Valentine's. So when you hear somebody call you and wish you happy Valentine's Day, all right, That is filthy communication, evil communication, because this speaks directly against what the Most High Power have set for the so-called black man, Native Indian man, Hispanic man. You understand? Somebody, they ain't telling you, let me celebrate the Passover, Hanukkah, you understand, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which the Most High have prescribed for the nation of Israel. But they're telling you about Christmas and Valentine's. These things are evil communication. All right? When they finish, you go read it from the top. Come on.
Right. The book of Colossians, chapter 3 and verse 8. But now ye also put off all these,
right?
Anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth.
And put filthy communication out of your mouth, so-called black man. So it are no black man, no Hispanic man, Native Indian man, or woman. We're not supposed to be walking around talking about Valentine's Day. You understand? We go down buy chocolates and roses, right, for Valentine's Day. Right? That's how serious it is. And it's so serious right now. And I must say to what you know, as always, to Commanding General YAHANNA holding on this truth. Right? Because even I, you know, personally, just of recent, you know, my daughter being on like a school chat, you know, and one of the children in the school or the kids in the school that had the WhatsApp set up for the studies and so forth, come up on the chat now and wishing the children in the class through via WhatsApp, via voice note, happy Valentine's Day. It's showing you where the attacks at Christianity and white supremacy, from what level it has come under. These children are around 10 years old. You understand? And the children that have been absorbed into Christianity and absorbed into white supremacy, they now pushing or continuing because now they're born in that. You understand? They know the culture and they know the history. So they're born in that, as they would say, born in sin and a shape in iniquity. So all they know, today is Valentine's Day. And they know wishing everybody happy Valentine's Day. You understand? Not knowing that is filthy communication.
Right.
The parents don't know that is filthy communication. And you know, being in the truth, right, must make that stand, must gird up your loins to protect your household, to train your wives and children, to make them to understand that these things is not of the Most High Power. All right? You read out 8. Read verse 9.
The book of Colossians, chapter 3 and verse 9.
All right, no, hold up on that, Baba Kasha. All right, yeah. All right. I want to also get another script here. Just give me a minute, Baba Kasha. So I think it was in Colossians also. All right, I think this is the script I want here. It's right. I marked the wrong script there. It's Colossians chapter 2 and verse 9, but that still was all right. Give me the book of Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8.
The book of Colossians, chapter 2 and verse 8.
Right.
Beware.
Do what?
Beware.
Right. So we understand, all right, if you've been watching these classes, that this Bible is addressed to the so-called black man, Native Indian man, and Hispanic man. These are the records of the so-called black man written here. This is our culture, right? Our customs, laws, commandments, and statutes, our heritage is in these records because we are the Israelites, according to the records and the history of the Bible, right? There is also archaeology and other historical books to prove this, all right? We also have passages like Deuteronomy 28 and so forth. But the scriptures is saying to the so-called black man, beware. Beware of what?
Beware, lest any man spoil you,
right,
through philosophy and vain deceit.
So he's saying to the so-called black man, here what happening? This is a warning. These things written for the so-called black man to understand, warning. And this is in the New Testament also. So then no debate or no back and forth. Right? Take heed, lest any man should spoil you through philosophy. They have a doctrine that the way they can prove to you that this doctrine concerns you, they're telling you about Valentine's Day. And nobody can prove to the so-called black man, Native Indian man, and Hispanic man, this is something that your forefathers used to celebrate. This is something that the Most High Power wants you to celebrate. They can never prove that. You understand? So now the so-called black man has been warned in the book of Colossians. Take heed, beware, lest any man should spoil you through what?
Through vain deceit.
Through vain deceit, deceitfulness, right? That have no profit in it, right? Or what? Go ahead, read on, Salakia.
After the traditions of men.
After the what?
The traditions of men.
Because when you look and you hear about Valentine's Day and you do the history, do the research, you're going to realize that these things and Valentine's Day, these things are the philosophies and the traditions of men, not of the Most High Power. All right? That was the NIT?
Last.
Read on.
After the rudiments of the world.
After what?
After the rudiments of the world.
After the rudiments of the world. After the customs of the world. After the customs of this society. This is why you learn under this empire. You conquer, the so-called black man conquered under the oppressor, the so-called white man, and these are the things that was forced on us. You understand? Even through the Christian church. So now the so-called black man is celebrating Valentine's Day. Your wife expecting you to bring a teddy bear and flowers and chocolate for her on this special day. And this has nothing to do with your culture, nothing to do with the Most High. You understand? But now you're absorbed, you're deceived by the traditions, by the rudiments of this world. Right? Read on.
And not after Christ.
And not what?
And not after Christ.
And not after Christ. Now everybody's saying they love Christ. Your Christian pastor saying he love Christ too. But the so-called black man don't understand, according to this scripture, according to the book of Colossians and many other scriptures, it is saying that these traditions that the so-called black man partaking in, you understand, and being taught about in the Christian church is not after the what?
Is not, and not after Christ.
They are not after Christ or Yahweh in the Hebrew. So when the so-called black man is in the Christian church, being deceived by our Christian pastors and thinking, here what happened? I following God, that is not according to the scriptures. The scriptures telling you that these things is not after Christ. You will read nowhere in the Bible, no historical document where Christ celebrated Valentine's Day, right? And we're going to touch a little bit on Valentine's Day, and then we're going to get back into the meat again. All right? So we'll just browse through this. If you want, we'll put the class up from last night. The camp leader of I.S.U.P.K Trinidad, Officer Galawan, he went into the breakdown of Valentine's Day. So we're going to touch on it also. All right, from another article, just to give you an overview. This is something you can look up. Right? You can type up Lupercalia, all right, or Celia, right? And you're going to get this information, right, Tawara? All right, you can read from here. You read from the top, Bawakasha. And we'll just run through it, and then we'll get back into some more scriptures to make the Salakia for the so-called black man to understand that these things that we fall prey to is what divided us from the Most High, or as we say, divide us from God, has us as enemies with God, because now we're not walking according to Him. We're not walking according to Christ. All right, you can go ahead and read the article about Bukasha.
Lupercalia. Lupercalia was an ancient pagan festival.
What kind of festival?
Pagan festival.
A pagan festival. All right, read on.
Held each year in Rome on February 15th. Although Valentine's Day shares its name with a martyred Christian saint,
right,
some historians believe the holiday is actually an offshoot of Lupercalia.
Right. So when you read other articles, you'll get the context or the spirit of the whole thing with Valentine's Day, right? And Lupercalia, which is basically a Roman tradition, right? A Roman custom. The customs or the traditions are white people, and it will give you an idea. This article will give you an idea of some of the customs that white people, right, the people that are ruling over us today, that they follow. So then you're going to understand the difference in culture. Was this that we read in here something that the Most High wanted the so-called black man to do? Or we fall now ensnared, right? Or as we say, not culture is the word I'm looking for, indoctrinated. You understand? With these things that was forced on us, right, during slavery. All right, read on.
Unlike Valentine's Day, however, Lupercalia was a bloody, violent, and sexually charged celebration.
Right, read that one more time.
Unlike Valentine's Day, however, Lupercalia was a bloody, violent, and sexually charged celebration.
Right.
Awash with animal sacrifice.
Right, so now we're seeing the backdrop of where this whole Valentine stemmed from. You understand? You're seeing the spirit and the nature of the so-called white man. It sprang from something that was bloody, violent, and sexual charged, and a sexually charged celebration. I was with animals, random, read on.
Random matchmaking,
right,
and coupling in the hopes of warding off evil spirits and infertility.
Right, so it's a whole mess of violence, right? Animal sacrifice, you understand? And then more pagan beliefs. And these are the things and the traps that the so-called black man fall in. You understand? Following the heathen, right? I will bring out a scripture. There's no the scripture where the Most High telling the so-called black man, learn not the way of the heathen. But this is what the so-called black man falling, right? Read on.
Romulus and Remus.
Right, so before you read on, you're going now and touch on Romulus and Remus. Now, this first paragraph that we read showing you the spirit of the so-called white man. You understand? Always he love blood. You understand? Even when you read back in the scripture since with Cain and Abel. You understand? And that's how the scriptures rightfully say that, you know, a Babylon, which is America, is the house or housing every unclean bird, every unclean spirit. So the so-called white man whole tendency is to gravitate to anything unclean. You understand? Because according to the scriptures, the white man is the devil, the deceiver that the Bible speaks of. Anything unclean. So all the Africans' homosexuality from since Sodom and Gomorrah and any other unclean thing, the so-called white man bring that in his house. You understand? Because of his nature, the nature of I.S.U.P.K. That is what we have to understand. We are a different type of people, a separate people, a holy people. All right, read that again.
Romulus and Remus. No one knows exactly, no one knows the exact origin of Lupercalia.
Right.
But it has been traced back as far as the 6th century BC.
Right, so they trace it back as far as the 6th century. Right, that's the furthest set of records they can get with, you know, where they spring from. Right, read on.
According to Roman legend, the ancient king Amulus ordered Romulus and Remus, his twin nephews and founders of Rome, to be thrown into the Tiber to drown in retribution for their mother's broken vow of celibacy.
Right, so this is the backdrop, you know, where all this starts springing from. Right, read on.
A servant took pity on them, however, and placed them inside a basket on the river instead. The river god carried the basket and the brothers downriver to a wild fig tree where it came caught in the branches. The brothers were then rescued and cared for by a she-wolf in a den at the base of Palatine Hill, where Rome was founded.
Right, so this going into their custom, all the mythology and so forth. This article make a touch on the different philosophies, all right, and myths. Right, read on.
The twins were later adopted by a shepherd and his wife and learned their father's trade. After killing the uncle who ordered their death, they found the cave den of the she-wolf who nurtured them and named it Lupokal.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's thought that Lupercalia took place to honor the she-wolf and please the Roman fertility gods Lupercus.
Right, so it's a kind of, a kind of Tarzan and Jane thing, right? We don't down to ritual sacrifice.
Ritual sacrifice. Lupercalia ritual took place in a few places. Lupercal Cave, on Palatine Hill, and within the Roman open air public meeting place called the Comitium.
Right, so this was a public meeting place, right? Called the Comitium, right? Read on.
The festival began at Lupercal Cave with the sacrifice of one or more male goats.
Right, so the festival beginning at Lupercal Cave, right, where the story sprang from, the culture, the tradition, and the starting off by sacrificing one or more male goats. Right, read on.
A representation of sexuality.
Right, so that representing sexuality, read on. And also the sacrificing dogs. You understand? So it's showing you the kind of paganistic, right, devilish culture that the so-called white man have that we just get tied up in. And what happened? It just been called another name. They're renaming it. Just as how they rename the so-called black man. You understand what I'm saying? To Negro, African American, Creole, and so forth. Right? When your true identity is that you are the Israelites according to the scriptures. Right? Read on.
The sacrifices were performed by Luperci, a group of Roman priests.
Right.
Afterwards, the foreheads of two naked Luperci were smeared with the animal's blood using the bloody sacrificial knife.
Right, so it's showing you the customary so-called white man. Right, it's showing you the customary Romans. So the priests, like the white priests, right, this is how they love homosexuality now, right, and molesting all the boys in the Roman Catholic Church. Now they're having sacrifices, right, with the Roman priests, and they're taking the blood from the goats, the blood from the dogs, with two naked, right, Luperci, of two of the naked Luperci was smeared with animal's blood using the bloody knife. So they're taking the blood now, right, and put it on the forehead of the two naked priests. That is the custom of the so-called white man. So that's how the East Indians just take, where the tradition come from, putting period blood on the forehead, and a lot of people don't know that. When that time come around again, we might go back to that class again, history with the Wali, and I see they have the red dot on the forehead. That is come from a custom where they put in period blood on the forehead, and something similar to what the so-called white man is doing here. He had the blood of dog and goat and smearing that blood on his forehead. You understand? So he's showing the sick nature, you understand, and the devious nature of the so-called white man. It has stories when the white man coming out in battle, you understand, to fight war. His whole army coming out naked. You understand what I'm saying? And other cultures now when realizing with now is a whole 1,000 naked man in battle. You confuse. They confuse you. You understand? With the level of homosexuality and uncleanness. You understand? That is how devious the so-called white man is. Because they have no laws. That's what we have to understand. There's only one race of people on the planet that have laws. Nobody else. No East Indians, no Chinese, no Japanese, not the so-called white man, not the Africans. They have no laws to guide them. If it was not for the children of Israel, the nation of Israel, homosexuality will not be an issue. Child molestation will not be an issue. Murder, pedophilia, adultery, you understand? These things will not be an issue. Because there is no race on the planet that has laws and that has as a part of the culture these things that they shouldn't do. Only blacks, Native Indians, and Hispanics. This is for we to understand the importance of the scriptures. You understand? If we didn't have these scriptures here on the planet, the whole place out of course. It done out of course already, but it'll be 10 times worse. You understand? Because it had nobody to correct nobody. You understand? Every man doing your own thing. All right, read on.
The blood was then removed with a piece of milk, soaked wool, as the Lupacy laughed.
Right? So they're taking a yeah, so it's showing you the kind of, it's like this reading, this is like a movie. They're taking a piece of wool, what does it, let me see, which one are you? Right, a PI, tawara. Right, a piece of milk soaked wool and wiping off now the blood mark would have put on the naked priest's forehead, and now the priest laughing. You're catching what going on? So it's showing you is a type of psychopathic type of behavior thing where you see on the TV. You understand? And you got to go into this history to understand that so-called black man, you don't want a part of that. You understand what I'm saying? You in a room with some other man, you and a next man naked, a man putting blood on the forehead and all kind of thing and wiping it off in milk. You understand? That you know that the heights of homosexuality. You understand what I'm saying? All right, read on.
The feast of Lupercal. In ancient Rome, feasting began after the ritual sacrifice. When the feast of Lupercal was over, the Lupacy cut strips, also called tongues, and
febra,
of goat hide from the newly sacrificed goats. They then ran naked or nearly naked.
Right. So now you see how the scripture said, so you have to go tell you the so-called white man. Now when they done cut the strips when they cut Salaki, I'm gonna read this part again, right? When the feast of Lupacy was over, the Lupacy cut strips, also called tongues, and fubia, right? The goat hide from the newly sacrificed goats, right? So when they cut this now, right, they then ran naked or nearly naked. Now in Israel we have a custom, right? And a lot of people understand Israelite culture. When they say they're running here naked and nearly naked, that means they're running naked. Because they're running naked and nearly naked to the so-called white man is like when a white man wearing a tongues. You understand? You understand? So either way, it's naked. Them go call that nearly naked. You understand? But in the nation of Israel, that is nakedness. You understand? In the nation of Israel, you ain't seeing no priest or no prophet. You understand? Walking around with no tongues and, well, you have on some clothes. That is nakedness. You understand? It's only in this wicked empire. You understand? They hear using these terms, naked and nearly naked. What nearly naked mean? You understand? I want to say they always have, as Jeremiah was saying, something real profound at time. We're talking about this gray line. He says either right or wrong. And a lot of people like to create this gray area to create confusion. Let's have a touch that a little sidebar. And it's a real point of wisdom. It's not no naked and nearly naked. It's either you're naked or you're fully clothed. But the so-called white man always creating this borderline, always riding on the edge to create a place of confusion now. So now, in essence, judgment can't fall because now you're riding on that gray line. Well, you're there, but you're nearly in there. So you leaving now everybody in a state of confusion. You understand? Because your philosophy always riding on the gray. You understand? But not according to the spirit of the nation of Israel. It's not naked and nearly naked. You understand? That is buck naked, as you see. Right? Read on.
They ran naked or nearly naked around Valentine, whipping any woman within striking distance with the tongues.
You understand? So it's showing you the so-called right man is the true caveman. So them now had this thing where they're calling a whip what they make from the goat thing and running down woman like it's animals. You catching me? Like when animal looking to meat. And anytime a woman within striking distance is wutup on the side of your head. You understand what's going on? And you know from there you know what's going on is rape. Because that is the culture of the so-called white man. You understand? Responsible for a lot of rape when we go into history. And that other classes we go into that. That is the culture operating like brute beasts. Them you know like how the so-called black man is talking about, you know what I mean, tackling a smallie. You understand what I'm saying? Lyrics in a smallie and win them. Them hitting you with a big stick on the side of your head. You catching me? And have sex with you. That is the culture of the so-called white man, and that is what you want to bring this place to. Yeah, Trump they talk about grab them by the, I don't want to say the rest, but that is the spirit of the so-called white man. All right, read on. Yeah, go ahead.
And if I may too, that I did the spirit of domestic violence.
That's right. You understand? Prominent domestic violence, which is not the custom of the so-called black man. You understand? You will see that around white people. You will see that prominent among the East Indians. You understand? They live with one another like animal. They love to be the woman. And anybody watching these classes that is like East Indian will know that. You understand? That your husband, they love to beat you. You understand? When they drink the rum, they beat you whole day and whole night. As we say, like a ram goat skin in our feast. You understand? Because you know why? No laws, no commandments, no statutes. So they're living like animals, right? Go ahead.
Kanawankan, many women welcomed the lashes and even bared their skin to receive the fertility right.
Right? So now it become a cult here. All right, read on.
It's open to speculation what the lashes represented. During Lupercalia, the men.
Right, just now, and before we go on, as we're talking about lashes, and you mentioned domestic violence, right? Right? Give me the book Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 4, Bible question. Right? As we mentioned in that. Hebrews 13 and verse 4. Yeah, go ahead and read.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 13 and verse 4. Marriage is honorable in all.
Read that again.
Marriage is honorable in all.
Right? And this kind of animalistic behavior is what the so-called white man is pushed. You understand? In the modern world today, being the ruler. You understand? You hit a woman inside a shed and you rape she, and she get raped. And you can sneak out and disappear, you get through. You understand? But in the customs and in the culture of the so-called black, native Indian, Hispanic man, that is not we. That is not what the Most High set for us. The Most High set a standard. And he said marriage is honorable in all. You understand? So it's showing the culture of the so-called black man. I know they love to call black people animals and cockroaches. But the heathens is the cockroaches and the animals. They have to guide them. They live in my guess. What part of their culture make them civilized? What law they have that make them a civilized nation of people? Don't murder, don't rape. What document they can pull out to show that? That is only in the documents of the so-called black man. Where the Most High is saying, marriage is honorable in all. And according to the scriptures, sex is marriage. So you can't just hit a woman inside her head and have sex with she, and well, you move on. Like use a goat. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, that's grazing, yeah, that's jam, and you move on. That is not according to the Most High. So these customs, these cultures, and these behaviors, you understand, is what the so-called black man, native Indian man, Hispanic man is not supposed to walk according to. Because sleeping with a woman or having sex with a woman, you understand, the Most High say is an honorable thing. All right, read on.
And the bed undefiled.
And the bed is undefiled. What you do in a bedroom with your wife, that is all your personal business. Right? Read on.
But whoremongers.
But what?
Whoremongers.
Whoremongers and
adulterers.
And adulterers.
God will judge.
The Most High will judge. So the Most High making it know he is a whoremonger. You like the so-called white man, you just hitting a woman a big stick on the side of she head and move on from person to person. The Most High saying in the scriptures he's going to judge you. You just run down a woman. That's also the white man doing here. He just run down a woman. And any woman within the right distance, he hit them. Boom. And the woman will come and he lash too. You understand what I'm saying? And you have sex with she. And she was having sex with a man before. That's another man's wife. These things is the customs of the so-called oppressor, the white man, the deceiver, the devil. These things is not the culture of the so-called black man. When a woman is with another man, we know that is his property. So we move on. Right? statistics, history, everything will show it always are more women than men. And a man can have more than one wife. So you have the opportunity to get your own wife. No hiccups and no problems. All right, read on.
In scripture, what is?
Salakia, read on in the article, Babakasha, Salakia.
Cancer.
Yeah.
Many women welcome the lashes and even dared their skin to receive the fertility rite. It's open to speculation what the lashes represented. During Lupercalia, the men randomly chose a woman's name from a jar to be coupled with them for the duration of the festival.
Right. So now they show another aspect of the white man behavior, and I will be bringing these things up, right, during this Valentine's festival, and we'll get more into it. Right. They tell you that the men, the women, them is like a raffle sheet. They have all of them name in a jar. You understand? And during the festival, right, they're pulling a name out of a hat. And whoever name you pull, you stay with that person, right, until the following year. So that is not your wife for life. That is for a year. Until the next festival, when she running, and the next man is she on the side of she head, that is his wife now. You understand what I'm saying? Until the next year. So it's showing you the sexual deviance of the so-called white man, which is a spirit that we, as the so-called black man, supposed to pick up. And even as you read this article, I'm gonna drop this in one time, right? When I watch Valentine's Day, right, it's basically the same thing. I read this article here, and this is the same spirit. Because when you hear, you go down the road, right, the majority of women that under that Christian spell, or under Christianity, all a man had to do is hit you with a teddy bear and a box of chocolate on the side of your head. And he is your husband until when? Until the next year. Until another man hit you, a teddy bear and a box of chocolate on the side of your head again. Right? And this now is showing the so-called black man, the evil that this society is push upon us. That is not the culture of the so-called black man, right? Because the majority of women that listening to this class here tonight know this. Some of them teddy bear by all their mother, that is some another man, but they can't carry it home. But all they taking that teddy bear and all they taking that rose, what a man give all that is not all your husband, and all they carrying that by your mother. You understand? So if you hear you're going by your mother-in-law and you see a real teddy bear and real chocolate building up every year, and the mother-in-law in hand man, because most of them don't show the man out the house, you know them teddy bear and rose where you see it, they go eat the chocolate. You ain't gonna see that. But the teddy bear and the rose where you see it, tell yourself, nah, probably that could be Sandra. You understand what I'm saying? Right? And that is the kind of wicked empire that the so-called white man have us living in. These things is not our culture. You understand what I'm saying? When whole year you ain't like this man. You seen a man whole year. You ain't like he. Whole year you hire your husband. But you see on that day, he give you chocolate and rose, and he can hold you out for a day. These things is traps, right? To finish, to try to tarnish the name of the so-called black woman. That's what we have to understand. Because you get buy out for chocolate and a teddy bear, when the so-called black man is to love your wife every day. Whole year. Not Valentine's Day to buy chocolate or to buy rose. Any day of the year. All right? Read on in the article, Babakasha.
Over time, nakedness during Lupercalia lost popularity. The festival became more chaste, if still undignified, and the women were whipped on their hands by fully clothed men. In Huluk, Life of Jesus, famously refused a golden crown presented to him by Mark Anthony during the feast of Lupercalia.
Right. All right. So now we're going and read on. You're going to read on now in Saint Valentine's, right? I didn't think I had the script there. I can't remember what this is, right? But let me just check this. Oops. No, I ain't gonna read that yet. Let me just get the script there first, right? I'm gonna get the script there first. This here. I think it's in Leviticus. Yes. Right, Leviticus 19 and 29. Right, let me touch this before we go down into the next part of the article, right? Because it's important to note. Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 29. Let's read that from the Bible.
The book of Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 29. Do not prostitute thy daughter.
Read that one more time.
Do not prostitute thy daughter.
Do not prostitute thy daughter. You understand? This is a real important and profound scripture for all the black men. You understand? And even the black women, but also the black men that have daughters. The scripture saying, do not prostitute thy daughter. And there are many ways that the so-called black man, Native Indian man, Hispanic man can prostitute the children by dressing them the wrong way, dressing them in a sexual way, and have them out as little children, as little girls, right? Also, even in this Valentine's Day, building up that psychology in a child to make them believe that when somebody get them chocolate and a teddy bear on Valentine's Day, they love them, they care about them. You making your daughter from the get-go, from a young age, before puberty, right, before marital age, you're making your daughter, or you're prostituting your daughter, you're training your daughter to be a whore. That's how serious, you understand, this empire setup. It's a continual trap for the so-called black man that we are to try to navigate out of. That's why the priests and the prophets here in the I.S.U.P.K under commanding General YAHANNA. You understand? That's why the title of the class today is Valentine is a day of warfare, not celebration. It's not celebration here for the so-called black man in this. This is for you to battle. You understand what I'm saying? To save your wife and to save your daughters from being whores. You understand? And from teaching your sons from practicing whoredom. That is what Valentine's Day is supposed to be to you. You understand? To stand firm and defend the laws of the Most High Power. Right? You can read on again on the article Babaka Shah. Read the rest of that scripture. I think we finished. Give up on the top Babaka Shah.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 19 and verse 29. Do not prostitute thy daughter to cause her to be a whore, lest the land fall to whoredom.
Right? Lest the land do what?
Fall to whoredom.
Otherwise, the land go fall to whoredom. It turns sin city. You understand what I'm saying? Every man doing what the witch please, and that too, the sin of the murder rate big time. No order. It's all kind of dog fight and wickedness. You understand what I'm saying? You got a woman out 6, 7 man. Real confusion. Whoredom in the land. Wickedness in the land now. Black man murdering black man over some woman. You understand what I'm saying? Read on.
And the land become full of wickedness.
And the land become what?
Full of wickedness.
Right. That was it?
All
right. You can go ahead on the article number. Right? So that is what the so-called black man don't understand. These things are serious responsibilities that the so-called black man has, right? As being a head, as being a leader in a home, right? During these seasons and as the world called festivities, which the most I hate. He hates the feast days that is being celebrated in this society. All right, and you might pull that script here before the class wrap up. Right, go ahead and read the article,
Babakasha. Saint Valentine. There are several legends surrounding the life of Saint Valentine. The most common is that on February 14th, during the 3rd century AD, a man named Valentine was executed by the Roman Emperor Claudius II after being imprisoned for assisting persecuted Christians and secretly marrying Christian couples in love.
Right.
As the story goes, during Valentine's imprisonment, he converting Claudius to Christianity. Claudius became enraged and ordered Valentine to reject his faith or be killed. He refused to forsake his faith, so Valentine was beheaded.
Right.
Legend also tells of another story that happened during Valentine's imprisonment after he tortured a girl named Julia, the blind daughter of his jailer. The legend states God restored Julia's sight after she and Valentine prayed together. On the eve of his execution, Valentine supposedly penned a note to Julia and signed it, "From your Valentine." Some historians believe more than one man named Valentine was executed by Claudius II, despite the ambiguity surrounding Valentine and his life. The Catholic Church declared him a saint and listed him in the Roman mythology as being martyred on February 14th.
Right. So we're reading the last part of this article here. This is a short part, the origin of Valentine's Day. Let's read through this.
Origin of Valentine's Day. Thanks to Saint Valentine, reputation as a patron of lovers, he became synonymously with romance.
Right, he became synonymous with romance. And when I look at it too, even in the I.S.U.P.K, right, even as Black, Native Indian, and Spanish, right, understanding we culture and so forth, we don't really use words like romance. You understand what I'm saying? This and it become the patron of lovers. This whole article just showing you the homosexual nature of the so-called white man. You understand what I'm saying? Right? With all this patrons of lovers, right, and romance. You understand what I'm saying? Right, read on.
In the late 5th century AD, Pope Gelasius I eliminated the pagan celebration of Lupercalia and declared February 14th a day to celebrate the martyrdom of Saint Valentine instead. Although it was highly unlikely he intended the day to commemorate love and passion. In fact, some modern biblical scholars warn Christians not to celebrate Valentine.
Read that part one more time.
Salakia. In fact, some modern biblical scholars warn Christians not to celebrate Valentine's Day.
Read on.
At all.
At all. Right? Read on.
Since it's thought to be based on pagan rituals.
Right? So even modern day scholars, you understand, saying to the Christian church, only those celebrate Valentine's Day because this is a pagan ritual. Not just a pagan holiday, a pagan ritual. You understand what I'm saying? But your Christian pastor will refuse, you understand, to tell his congregation this. Because by doing that, you know what's going on? You're going to lose members. That's going to cut down on the tithes, love gifts, and your offerings. So rather than do that, they rather ain't say nothing because I filthy. You understand what I'm saying? You have a scripture talking about when saying the Christian pastors, they are dumb dogs. You understand that care back, right? And care satisfy. Even when Christian pastors make millions of dollars over years, they will never come out and say, here what happened. You know, that's what teaching all them years, they are real rubbish. and make an error, and now they ain't getting to hold it, they're still getting to walk with the money. But you know, scriptures tell you, their belly can't be filled. They ain't giving up. They will preach and play that piano till the grave with millions of dollars stuck up. You understand? I tried to do a research not too long when they end up finding the Christian pastor with $30 million. So I tried to go through to find out how many churches it really have in the country. I'm just talking about Trinidad. You understand? And you know, for some strange reason, Google Maps have everything else. But you see the location and identification of all the churches in the country, you can't find it. You know, you have to find that? Like you have to drive city to city, street to street to find them churches. Because if one church had $30 million and every corner you been driving, every corner, every street you turn is a church. Imagine the amount of millions of dollars black people hard-earned money, right, hiding in Christian pastors' pockets that can help the black community. Because we're talking about one church had $30 million. And in any ghetto you go in, almost every other street is a Christian church. So if you had 30, and then other smaller churches are 2, when you add up the amount of churches in these areas, is millions of dollars. So it's showing that the Christian church is a $1 billion empire. You understand what I'm saying? By itself. And when I look in the ghettos and in the slums, no help for the so-called black man. No help for the native Indian man and the Hispanic man. You understand? You see all, even when you see may call the woman who got killed recently there? Who get kidnapped? I can't remember the full name, but something Barat. You understand? The story going all how. And you know the faces you're seeing Negro faces on the front line. But then you know you're hearing a bacchanal behind. Somebody in the high seats. The high seats where the East Indians and the Syrians them holding, like the bus some shot. You catching what going on? But who will take the walk? A big boy taking the walk? Because a big boy who busted the shot. So the scruntany hustler now, not understanding what the most I require he to do, the so-called black man getting entangled. You understand what I'm saying? Men paying you small money to take hit on people. Paying you small money to kidnap people and kill them for a bigger cause that you don't know about. And kill you dead, you are a criminal, not knowing you are a slave in this empire. And the most I asking you so-called black man to separate. Come back to the laws, commandments, and such. When a boy call you and telling you about some work to kidnap somebody or murder somebody, you ain't going to even get a phone call. You understand what I'm saying? Salakia, go ahead. Andrea Barrett is the name. You understand? Out in a blue just so. And then look, they interviewed them and started killing them one time. So nobody can talk. The same way that this next East Indian East Indian judge, right? The block she vehicle, she come from the casino with wagon with cement and thing. You understand? And make a hit on she too. And nobody never find she. Give me the name on that again. Dana Sital. And who taking them, join them? The so-called black man. Because they hire under oppression. You understand what I'm saying? But when they're looking to bump off one another, you understand, to get a high seat, who the hiring? The so-called black man. Because he ain't had nothing. Because he's a strunter. Because he's a hustler. Because that's what you know to survive. You understand what I'm saying? So then you're always falling prey. You're always getting the bad name. You understand? The so-called black is cockroach, them is pests. Because they're in the bottom. You understand what I'm saying? So the top gain you and they just taking it because nobody had it. You understand what I'm saying? Because then you don't have morals that the Christian church not teaching you. You understand? Standards. The Christian church not teaching you laws or rules that your forefathers live by to ensure that you don't walk that path. All right? Read on the article again, Babakasha.
Khan. It is true. Valentine's Day uses some of Lupercilia's symbols intentionally or not, such as the color red, which represented a blood sacrifice during Lupercilia, and the color white, which signified the milk used to wipe the blood clean and represents new life and procreation. like many ancient traditions, there is a lot of haziness surrounding the origin and rituals of Lupercalia and how they influence Valentine's Day. Lupercalia is no longer a mainstream public celebration for all reasons.
Right. So it's not a mainstream public celebration. So then it come like the celebration modified. When you look at Christmas, that Christmas in the Bible, in the book of Jeremiah, it have Isaiah, I believe it's 45, about 19, right? It's the same Christmas celebration, but now it's modified. So that exact way they used to do it is not the same thing again. Now it's a modification, right? Read on.
But some non-Christians still recognize the ancient event on February 14th instead of Valentine's Day and celebrate in private.
Right. So some people who is non-quote unquote Christians, they're celebrating it the old school way. But now they have Christians celebrating it now a modified way. You understand what I'm saying? So back in the scriptures, they never used to call Christmas Christmas. The scriptures tell you to follow the way of the heathen. You understand? Because they take a tree and dress the tree with silver and gold. They cut the tree out of the forest with an axe. So when you're watching now, same celebration, but now they give it a certain name. So you feeling it's something new. You didn't understand what it rooted into. All these pagan philosophies and so forth. All right? With that, give me the book. Give me the book of Judges. Give me 3. Give me from verse 1, Babakosha. Hold on a minute. Let me just jump down the way here. One time. Yeah, can go ahead.
The book of Judges, chapter 3 and verse 1. Now these are the nations which the Lord left to prove Israel by them, even as many of Israel as had not known all the wars of Canaan. Verse 2. Only that the generations of the children of Israel might know, to teach them war at the least.
Salakia. Oh, Salakia. Read from the top again, Babakasha.
My
bad.
The book of Judges, chapter 3 and verse 1. Now these are the nations which the Lord left to prove Israel by them.
Right. So now, in the book of Romans, the things written aforetime, the things written in the Old Testament was written for we learning. For the so-called black man, native Indian man, and Hispanic man to learn. And a lot of things sometimes that the so-called black man face. And now, the most I say, leave these things to prove the so-called black man. So when the so-called black man saying Easter, he's saying Valentine's Day, you understand? He's saying Halloween. The most I leave this, leave these heathens around us to test us. You understand? To see if we will walk according to his way. This short story here is just an example to the so-called black man. This shouldn't be something new to you. Because in the I.S.U.P.K under Commanding General YAHANNA, the priests and the prophets bringing these things out every day to make the so-called black man understand it's two different societies in motion right now. Right? The oppressor, the so-called white man, and the so-called black man. Right? Who is to be above? Who is not to follow this society? Who is not to follow the oppressor? Who is not to follow the deceiver? Who is not to follow the devil? But who is to follow the most high power? Who is to fear God and keep his commandments? All right? This is what the so-called black man don't understand. So every time we meet these pagan holidays like Valentine's, we know, hey, this is not their celebration, this is their warfare. I had a war to ensure that my family didn't follow this custom and displease the Most High, to give me a chance, you understand, to inherit that kingdom. Because what the kingdom will have in it? Men that's going to establish law. And what laws they're going to establish? The laws are the Most High. It ain't going to have no Christmas, and no Halloween, and no Easter, you catching me? And Pagua, and all these holidays. So to be a part of righteousness, you must be righteous. And to be a part of wickedness, you have to be wicked. So then you have to choose a side. And the Most High say, leave all this around us the nation of Israel, and when we say nation of Israel, we keep reiterating this, the so-called black man, native Indian man, Hispanic man, you are the children of Israel. You are the chosen of the Most High. The one that was given the promise to rule the planet. He said, leave all the East Indians, all the Chinese lighting the fireworks, right? All the Arabs walking around the rock in Mecca, he leave them around you to prove you. To prove who is the ones that are worthy to rule the planet.
Right.
Who is the ones worthy to establish the Most High laws, enforce his laws under Yahweh. Who is the man? As scripture say, who shall fight for me, even unto death? This is why the Most High leave them around you. Because the Most High don't love everybody. He said, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. The earth full of families. The earth have about 18 main families. The East Indians are family, Chinese is a family, the Japanese is a family, the Africans is a family, but the Israelites is also a family too. And the Most High said in Amos 3:1, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. It's only you I dealing with, so-called black man, native Indian man, and Hispanic man. The Karens and Arawaks. This is the people I dealing with. This is the people I promised rulership to. But I leave all them hidden and them wrong all here for a reason. To prove all here. Them hidden have a purpose. And you have a purpose too, so-called black man. Especially when these pagan holidays come around. Where the Most High going to prove you for what you're worth. To see if you're going to yield to your wife, or your children, or your neighbors, or peer pressure, whatever the case might be. That's why Christ rightfully had to say, who is my mother? You understand? Who is my sister, and who is my brethren? He said, them that do the will of the Father. That is who is the family. Them that decide to serve the Most High. And it have no hidden serving God. None. It have no hidden nation, no way. Whether by group or by individual that serving the Most High power. And to speak anything of the scriptures, you must be of that bloodline from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob. All that is of Abraham is not of Abraham. That's what we have to understand. Ishmael get his blessing. You understand? To be 12 princes and walk around the Kaaba stone. We have a blessing also. The kingdom of heaven. Under Christ. I Christ keeps saying, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Christ was only sent for black people, native Indians and Hispanics, to remind me of the culture. That is why he say, lo, look, I, Christ, I come in the volume of the book. Don't talk about the New Testament. Talk about the Old too. Christ keep all the high holy days, all the Passover, you understand, and the Hanukkah and so forth. Christ keep all. Not Valentine's Day and Easter and Halloween. And this is one of the greatest pitfalls for the so-called black man, because we don't know the truth. And when we say the truth, you don't know who he is. You're still thinking he's African. You're still thinking he's African. And still trying to figure out what tribe you're from. If it's the Tawainlik tribe, if it's the Chechnek tribe, if it's the Beges tribe, if it's the tribe of the cut out women clitoris, if it's the tribe of the circumcised men and circumcised of the whole rod, you still ain't sure which tribe you're from. And the priest and the prophet saying to you, everyday so-called black man is an Israelite, according to the scriptures. Once you come out from the transatlantic slave trade, your parents was descendants of the slaves, is an Israelite, because these things was prophesied to happen to us. Scripture say, do these things as a mark and as a sign. And he leave these heathens around us to prove us so-called black man. Valentine's Day have a purpose. It's a pagan holiday, but it have a purpose to prove you. For you so-called black man to understand, to determine in your mind if you will fight. To do what the Most High require in hell, in the midst of this pagan society. If you go walk the straight and narrow, and you ain't go walk the broad and wide. Right? Give me a time check, Baba Kosha. So let me see how much in this story I can go in.
Eat.
All right. Give me from verse 1 again, Baba Kasha.
The book of Judges, chapter 3 and verse 1. Now these are the nations which the Lord left to prove Israel by them.
Right, so the Mosai, he left nations to prove the so-called black man. Just as it is today, ain't no different. Here hire one side up, somewhere up on the moon, on the corner by Mars. Because if he's an adulterer or a murderer and he put you by Mars by yourself and times, and you don't love the laws of the Mosai, you don't love your people, you don't love your own culture, you understand? You rather obey man, your Christian pastor and God, let you go prove you. He leave you right here. As you open the door and walk out, you make 2 minutes drive, 5 minutes drive, is a Christian church. Let me see where you love more. Let me prove you to see if you really fear the Most High. Right, read on.
Even as many of Israel as it had not known all the wars of Canaan. Verse 2. Only that the generations of the children of Israel might know to teach them war.
Right, so now, listen to the verse 2 again. I want to make sure and drop this in. Only the children of Israel talking about. So in these classes here, in the I.S.U.P.K, we only talking about Israelites here, but concerned about Israel. We'll talk about many other heathenic nations, how evil and wicked is. But we concerned. You understand? And care is for the Israelites, as Paul said. My kinsmen, according to the flesh,
right,
who are Israelites, as in Romans 9. That is who we're talking about. That's who we care for. So this whole setup is to prove the Israelites. The heathens don't do what the heathens don't do already. They had a judgment to get. Read on.
At the least, such as before knew nothing thereof. Verse 3. Namely, 5 lords of the Philistines, and all the Canaanites, and the Sidonians, and the Hivites that dwelt in the mount of Lebanon, from Mount Balamon unto the entering of Hamath.
Right, so now, yeah, all these heathenic nations surrounding the nation of Israel. Right? Some of the time when we born in, we know not, we just grow up and knowing these heathens and them among we. But we have a culture, we have a customs, we have a laws, commandments, we have a statutes. Right? We have our culture, the way we must live with one another. We have that. We understand what it means to love your brother as yourself. You understand? And one thing that Jeremiah man breakdown is following the laws, following the rules. And all the rules, not some of the rules, because you know sometimes we so caught up in the carnal Christian mind, we thinking, hey, well, me eating pork, crab, lobster, and shrimp, but it have many other things. You understand? That the Most High lay. You have to follow all this. Just as he tell you. If your righteousness exceed that of the scribes and Pharisees, you shall know why it's enter. Because them scribes and Pharisees and them putting all them bad card, them was eating pork, crab, shrimp, and lobster, but they hate the people. You understand what I'm saying? They're always up on the high seat. Them don't know how to, as we say, fish in the UPK. You understand what I'm saying? Because they're caught up in their own self. And this is the spirit that the so-called black man, Native Indian man, Hispanic man, we can't have that spirit on. We have to learn to love one another. You understand what I'm saying? And in talk about right through what we do. Because every time you hear talk to somebody, most of the time, they love to pull that card. I don't really think up with that Christmas too much. I ain't really. But they're still doing it, eh? But they're really talking about what they do. But now it's time for the so-called black man, Native Indian man, Hispanic man to gird up the loins and start talking about what we just do. You understand? What we setting up to help people. What we setting up that can be able to better the people in the ghetto. You understand what I'm saying? In the slums. What vision or what plan you have? You understand? Whether short term or long term, that is going to help alleviate the pain. You understand? Are your brothers, are your sisters, are your family, are your bloodline. Right? Read on Baba Kasha.
Verse 4. And they were to prove Israel by them, to know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of the Lord.
To know what?
To know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of the Lord.
To know whether they will hearken unto the commandments. You understand? Laws, commandments, and statutes. If you go listen to everything, what God say not to do, what God say to do, and what the leaders them say to do too.
Right.
Everything. Not some. Not riding the gray line like the so-called white man. Not living in confusion. But you're clear on what you're supposed to do. And fighting on that even unto death. Whether I be big or small. All right, read on.
Which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses. Verse 5. And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites.
Right, that is the Africans.
The Hittites.
The Hittites.
The Amorites.
Right.
The Perizzites. The Hivites. And the Jebusites.
Right, a whole set of African nations. They always Nelson Mandela and them from Africans. Read on. Who is not God's people. Who is not we family. Who is not we bloodline. Read on.
Verse 6. And they took their daughters to be their wives.
Read that again.
And they took their daughters to be their wives.
And when the Most High leave all them African and them are wrong way, you know what some of we do as Israelites? We take them African them daughter to be your wife. And you're listening to this class right now, don't find that strange because it's just like today. You know what some of the sons are God doing right now? The chosen of the Most High, we taking the East Indians to be your wife. We ain't getting much Chinese, but the East Indians them, that be wife. So every minute, they call somebody's Douglas, which is a deterror. I always pronounce that word, deterrorary word. Yeah. Right? I always stumbling with that word. So you understand what I'm saying? Right? Over Michael Avedi. Right? So everybody is Douglas. Because the so-called black man still feel, nah, God love everybody. Everybody is human being. Everybody bleeding blood. Pig bleeding red blood too. You're not equal to a pig. And in the scriptures, the nation of Israel is not equal with the other races. All right? Read on.
And they took their daughters to be their wives and gave their daughters to their sons.
Right? And on top right now, what the so-called black man started to do, Native Indian man, Hispanic man, we started to take we daughters now and give we daughters to marry the son. So we daughters living in them African now. So when you watch that now, we daughters living with them African man them, you catching me? And pick up now the stretcher neck custom. 18 ring on the neck balancing. They take off one ring, the neck break. You understand what I'm saying? Or the cutting off your daughter clitoris. Cutting off the breast. You understand? Eating human, raw meat. Cannibalism. You understand what I'm saying? I watching somebody watching some documentary sometimes they're watching some African jumping. They're one of the culture, like when some mating culture are jumping up in the air with the kind of bamboo looking skate and a thing. And them like so amazed how them jumping high. And I say all they had to be dumb. Go and watch NBA. You find them watching high. Whole day they jumping. They must jump high. Them people in them men in the NBA jumping high too, jumping half court. You amazed with that. Like if that is a culture, like if they have any kind of sense behind it, like if that could, like you bring them here, that will solve crime in the black community. You just get to youth and tell them how to jump. Put on a dashing skirt and jump. Because you see, as scriptures always say, a carnal man cannot understand spiritual things. These laws, commandments, and statutes you're talking about in the Bible here is what could take the so-called black man out of the ghetto and from in the slums, out of poverty, out of murder and child molestation and adultery and all the plagues that we fall trapped to, following the heathens. This is not supposed to dwell among we. All this murder and adultery and pedophilia and whatever else happening, that's supposed to be among the other races. That's supposed to be only among the heathen. And we will set them straight as the rulers. But we don't understand these things in the scriptures because the leaders of our people cause us to error. Your Christian leaders do not care about that. They're living like the white man. They're living for today. They've been studying that kingdom to come. I have a church now and I gain money, and now I eating. My belly full. You understand what I'm saying? But they have the judgment. That which scriptures keep saying, woe be unto the pastors, which means destruction. Coming to all pastors, not some. And I don't know how pastors read the Bible and see that and like the pastor that's straight. The amount of scriptures mark, woe be unto the pastors. Woe unto the leaders at the flock. You ain't reading that for that to make you scared in some way. You understand what I'm saying? And it just boils down to where they do fear God. Because they fear God, they don't love God. Because they love God, they must fear. You can't love God and in fear. Because when you read some of them stories, them here, you know now, I had to fear this power. All right, read on Baba Kasha. Tawara.
And they took their daughters to be their wives.
Right.
And gave their daughters to their sons, and served their gods.
And do what?
Serve their gods.
And serve their gods. And that is the situation that Babylon, right? America is trying to put the so-called black man in today. For we to serve their gods. Celebrating birthday and Valentine's and Easter and so forth as we're going through. You understand what I'm saying? And once we serve other gods, the Most High say he's a jealous God. He say he go put the so-called black man in captivity. He say he go leave you in bondage. The Most High say he will leave you in hell. And the so-called black man wondering, we all this hell I going through by it because the scriptures are making it understand once we doing these things, hell is where you're going to see. This is not something happening I had to try to figure it out. Because priests and prophets beating the streets, beating videos day in and day out to make you know these things are not accidents. These things were prophesied. Right? 2,000 years ago, we go end up in slave ships. These is the curses go come on we. We got to go to the heathen for everything, even water. Even your water to drink, you got to go and buy that from the heathen right now. It has some states in America, you can get your own water, like water. That is how serious it is. Because he put these things around the so-called black man, all that Valentine's and Easter thing what the heathen them doing, he want to see if you go follow them. Or you go follow me. All right, read on.
Verse 7. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord.
Right. And the Most High say we did evil. Marrying other races and giving your children to live with other races, celebrating Valentine's and Easter, so that is evil. We did evil in the sight of the Most High. Just as the so-called black man still in this trap. We still had to try to escape the oppressor and don't do evil in the sight of the Most High. So the Most High sent a priest. He said, don't destroy a city without a warning. He sent warning. He sent a warning now to the so-called black man before he bring destruction. He sent a warning to the so-called black man because the Most High is a just God. He know I gain you a chance. Christians love to talk about grace. That is the grace. You understand? The grace he sending is the prophets. To make you get your act together, gain your time, to get your mind right, to get your spirit right. You understand? To stop right that gray line. You understand what I'm saying? And walk in truth. Read on.
And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord and forgot the Lord their God and served Balaam and the grove.
Right, so we forget God. We forget in the scriptures here, it's a Passover, it's a Hanukkah, it's a Feast of Unleavened. We forget we God. We forget we power. We forget the things that our prophets, our forefathers tell us to celebrate. We forget the things Christ tell me to celebrate. We forget Christ say, think not I come to destroy the law. Don't think I come to destroy the law. We forget that. And we started serve who?
Balaam and the groves.
We started save Balaam and the groves, the false gods. We started follow Valentine. That's what we started follow. Right, read on.
Verse 8. Therefore, the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel.
And what happened?
The anger of the Lord was hot against Israel.
Anger of the Lord was hot against Israel because of that. because we ain't serving him. So you know what you know? We getting gunned down in the streets. We getting lynched. You understand? Abortion skyrocketing right now. You understand? Because we coming up with every excuse because there's poverty, we can't mind a child. It's who has some white man dream to further the education thinking they're going to make some and a murder in the babies. The anger is a lot of hot against we, so he turn it back on we. Now we have no constitution, which means we have no rules to govern what's going on. We have no rules to govern we women. So we women doing what I want. They feel to kill the child because whatever plan they have, they kill the child. There are no rules. You understand what I'm saying? The black man in the bottom of society, he even have no financial strength. You understand? And Jeremiah man mentioned something where the Christian leaders know that the black woman is the source of the economic power in the black community. And it's so true because I had an article last week, I don't have it now, but just last week I had an article where it's saying women was suffering more due to job loss during the pandemic. And I say, boom, the journalists them always on point. You understand? Because men lost on the work too, you know. But why women suffering more? Due to the job loss. Because they're working more. They have more in the jobs. They have more in the economic power. So if the empire start to fall apart, who go feel the brunt more? Man go feel it more. That's a small work, man walking all about the place. You understand what I'm saying? And the women holding the economic power. And the Christian pastors know that. The Christian pastors know that where the money is. So anything that to tell them, woman and them, for them to feel good in the church, they go tell them. They can't tell them the truth. If you tell them the truth, that your money walking on the door. You know? That the money walking on the door. Them Christian pastors don't care about them and them. It's get them woman them all the swell head they can get them. Because that where the money is. Not them man. You feel them man and them giving up all that money. Any man gain any kind of money in that church is homosexual. Some homo. You understand? Some man who feel he's a woman. So you go give up your whole purse. He has no wallet. Right? Read on, Baba Kasha.
And he sold them into the hand of Kusharishatam.
Right? So he sold them
into the hand of Kusharishatam.
Right?
King of Mesopotamia.
Right. So we get sold, which means we end up the servants of a king. The king of Mesopotamia. That is why right now, the children of Israel, you understand what I'm saying? The rulers, the people, the men that's supposed to be the gods on the earth, which means the rulers are the ones who supposed to set the rules on the earth. Now, we get sold into the hands of Esau. We get sold into the hands of the so-called white man.
Right.
Because we displease the Most High. Celebrating what? Them same pagan days. Not defending with constitution unto death. We constitution is power. So-called black man. People don't understand. All them Egyptologists and them talk about woman is God and once it's a madman thing. Woman is God and they're aborting the babies like rain. You understand what I'm saying? Right? And the scriptures telling you there's a weaker vessel. And the scriptures telling you man is the head. They want to protect them and guide them. You understand what I'm saying? And lead them.
Right.
Woman always feels always about money, but it's way more that a man can offer you. You understand what I'm saying? All kind of stupid thing they bring up from the woman making baby for herself, all kind of crap. You understand what I'm saying? It's time for the so-called black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man to wake up. We get sold unto a king. You understand? Because we wouldn't hold on to the power. Having a family, a community, and a nation with laws, with rules to guide them, righteous rules and laws, that is the power. You have people running about in a nation sick, suffering from gout and cancer and diabetes, and that's supposed to be the other nations, them, let them follow them hospital. Black men, women, and children can walk around here without running up in the hospital every Monday morning with an ailment, with a diagnosis. But these are the things that the Christian pastor is not letting you know. These are the things that your oppressors don't want you to know. So you walking according to the heathen, eating pork, crab, lobster, and shrimp, and facing all the judgments from the Most High, gout and diabetes, you understand? Running from woman to woman with no order, getting AIDS and syphilis, you catching me? And the list goes on. Because we're not realizing this law, this Bible is power. to the so-called black man. Right? Read on, Baba Kasha.
And the children of Israel served Kusharishatam 8 years.
How long we serve?
8 years.
So we serve this king 8 years. That's the punishment we get. So every time the black man play man, the Hispanic man, and the Native Indian man, when they go into history, we always going to serve another race of people for a period of time, which is good to know too, because that serving is not forever. And that is the same thing with this servitude. The so-called black man, Native Indian man, Hispanic man, we're not going to serve under the so-called white man forever, because we belong to the top. We're the apple of the Most High's eye. So we have a deadline. We have a time frame to serve under the so-called white man. Just as how we save this king of Mesopotamia in the Old Testament for 8 years. You understand? We have a period of time to serve here. And when they're serving a time, you have to get your act together. Don't feel they're just going to make a time and they walk back out from under the king of Mesopotamia and it's a homo. That ain't going to happen. A priest come in and make it to know your time up. Time up for you to come up from prison. So you can't run around in the prison and slit the arm, the donkey throat. You understand what I'm saying? And lie the prisoner. You can't behave like a beast. Because you know what happened to you? You're supposed to get 8, you're going to remain in it. So now the priests and prophets in the I.S.U.P.K under commanding GEN.YAHANNA making a know, hey, black man, Native Indian man, and Hispanic man, nobody else, your time as serving under the white man up. Time for you to rule the planet again. But no. This is the challenge. You can't celebrate Valentine's Day. You can't celebrate Easter. You can't celebrate Christmas. You can't sleep with our next man's wife. Get your own wife or wives because it's lawful. If a girl vexed you that she business, God please. Time for me to wake up. Read on Baba Kasha.
Verse 9. And when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord raised up a deliverer to the children of Israel.
What you do?
Raised up a deliverer to the children of Israel.
Right? So that's what I was just saying. When we time up, the Most High raised up what? A deliverer. He raised up commanding GEN.YAHANNA. He raised up the men before commanding GEN.YAHANNA from Abba Bivim's coming down. Because you know why? We time up. So he started raising men up to make the nation know, hey, all the time up are being slaves. Time for order to come out of captivity. This is the roadmap. This is the way out. And more time when you go into to make you understand when Jeremiah sometimes teaching classes or commanding GEN.YAHANNA say, hey, shut your goddamn mouth, Salakia. It's because them making you to know, we showing you the way out. All you have is just follow that way out. It ain't all that. You don't try to set up no empire. You don't try to set up your own power play. You follow he on the way out, follow commanding general on the way out, and show men how to come out. That is how this is supposed to go, and everything will run smooth. Each man following the next man and looking back for the next man behind him. Why is he marching forward? And get as much as we out before them bombs drop. That is a serious discipline that the so-called black man only will understand by coming in here, because you can't understand that on the outside. But we here giving you warning, so-called black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man. All right, read on Baba Kasha.
Even Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother.
Right.
Verse 10. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he judged and went out to war.
Right. So he said, lead Israel, and he went out to war. And this is what the priests are like tonight in the I.S.U.P.K under commanding GEN.YAHANNA. I have history classes all over the world in the I.S.U.P.K. Right. Tonight is General Mahayman's class also, scripture breakdown, right? And also commanding GEN.YAHANNA, the leader, Israel Black Watch tonight. You understand? So tonight, the nation is out at war. This is what we're doing right now. This is warfare. Because a lot of we don't understand what is war. And I want to read one more scripture when I finish this Babakasha. We don't understand what is warfare. But the ISUPK is in warfare tonight. Showing the so-called black man you had to jump out to and war against Valentine's Day.
Right.
By not celebrating these pagan days. This is warfare. You understand? So the spirit of the Lord was on Ibarra and he went out in war. Speak against the empires and speak against the nations. Read on.
Kanawakan. And the Lord delivered Kushan Rishatam, king of Mesopotamia, into his hand.
Right. And the Most High delivered the empire into the hand, right, of Israel. Into the hand of the king. Read on.
And his hand prevailed against Kusharishatam.
Right. And Israel prevailed. Right. And Israel prevailed. The same way we come from Egypt. The Most High say, go and tell them Egyptian, and them, give all the gold and rubies and whatever they have, and we take everything from them. The Most High deliver them in the hand. You understand? When we leaving, still try to pursue, drown everybody, drown all them Pharaoh. You understand? He say, do that to show you power, and that's what the Most High going to do again. So the so-called black man understand that these things that we speaking every day look simple, but they're not simple. This is warfare. This is how we know is going to get rest. Because we don't understand what is war from the oppressor. Right? Read the next scripture and the next verse, Babakasha.
Kanawakan, verse 11. And the land had rest for 40 years.
For how long?
40 years.
And the land had rest for 40 years. And this rest is symbolic to the rest that the so-called black man, Native Indian man, Hispanic man is going to get when we serve God now. You know what the rest will be? The kingdom of heaven.
Right.
You understand? Those that lead us in captivity, as the scripture say, they will be led into captivity. Those that kill us with the sword must be killed by the sword. Now we will get rest. No, we ain't being lynched again. You understand what I'm saying? Now we ain't looking for food stamp no more. No, nobody ain't hiring we to give you no work to kill no heathen. Nobody gave me the dirty work to do. Now we will get rest. Now we will get chance to whip open the back of the heathen. And the Most High say, give unto them double. That show you the kind of wickedness and the kind of things the so-called black man go through. Right? Now, when we read this next scripture, let's put this into context there. Just now, I want to find that scripture first, but it have a scripture saying, his lips was smooth like butter, but war was in his heart. I ain't too sure when I just know it. So, like, yeah. Psalms 55 and 21.
Come on, Khan.
All right, so what? I read Psalms chapter 55 and 21. Give me time, check the Bible question.
Come on, Khan. Time is 8:46.
All right. When you're ready, you can go ahead and read.
Come on, Khan.
Right, so we're reading the scripture for the so-called black man to understand warfare. You understand what I'm saying? Get a better sense of warfare. Right? Because warfare are different levels. Not every time a bomb go drop. It's showing you how the white man does operate, and it's also showing me the warfare we are to fight. Right? Like in 2 Corinthians chapter 10. You understand? This is how the white man operated with. Now, with Valentine's Day, this is how we operate with the Native Indians. You understand? Smiling with them and giving them blanket full of chicken pox. We don't understand warfare. In the Apocrypha talk about this, the so-called oppressor, he know how to make we remain enemies with God. And once we're enemies with God, he know we have in again. But as long as we walk according to the laws, commandments, and statutes, and now we have peace between we and the Most High Power, this way he going to fall. This way he going to see hell. This way he going to be grab up in some ghetto one night when they go raise the minimum wage. That when he go be one night that, and you wouldn't be one night that no more so-called black man. Right? Read the scripture from about Kisha.
Khan. The book of Psalms, chapter 55 and verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter.
And this talking about the so-called white man. His words Smoother than butter. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody celebrating Valentine's Day. That's a day I love. It's sounding real good. Smoother than butter. Come and buy chocolates and teddy bears. It's smooth. It's smoother than butter. Read on.
Kalawankan. But war was in his heart.
What was in your heart?
War was in his heart.
You see all them nice, smooth Valentine talk. Something else going on that the so-called black man don't understand. War. War. That yesterday, Valentine's Day, that is warfare. That is a day to ensure that the so-called black man lose yet again. That was match time. That was game point. And you know what happened to the so-called black man? We lose yet again. That is why we're here still. Every pagan holiday that come and we lose, you go open your eye and you go see another day. And you ain't go see no chariots. You ain't go hear World War III. You understand what I'm saying? Which means we lose again. Which means the 144,000 rulers not sealed. You understand what I'm saying? Because the nation still caught up in paganism. Still caught up in simplicity. Still caught up in inferiority, one against the other. Still caught up. Right? That was it?
That's it. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords.
So your words softer than oil, but he sword outside. So he pushing that Valentine's hard. You understand what I'm saying? And the black man now, we fighting one another. You understand what I'm saying? We up in the ghetto, the circumstances we in, products of the environment. You understand what I'm saying? Trying to survive. You understand? And the white man, he sword outside. He ain't understanding his warfare going on. Right? Give me one more scripture there, Babakasha, 2 Corinthians 10. And give me from verse 4.
The book of 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 4. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal.
Weapons of our warfare. So we know understanding, we know war. Right? But our forefathers making us to understand something. The weapons of our warfare is not carnal. It's not gun and knife. Let me kill all them hidden. You understand? The Most High had these things set in place. When you know he had that lineup. Don't worry about that. He's showing you the stages of this battle. What you are to fight. The weapons of our warfare, the Most High making us know, it what?
Is not carnal.
It's not carnal. It's like how the carnal man is thing. We warfare is to stay away from Valentine's Day. It's to make your wife and your children stay away from Valentine's Day. You understand? And when they stay away from these pagan holidays, is now to make them serve the Most High. Passover, Hanukkah, Feast on Unleavened Bread. You understand? And all we high holy days. This is what we have to understand so-called black man, Native Indian man, and Hispanic man. Right? Because although we in this captivity, right, we can't make this benwi to that place to make me start to go off. We have so much stories with, you understand, with like the brothers and them that stand fast to try to get them to eat pork, even the mother. You understand, in the Maccabees, and the hold it down till death. You understand what I'm saying? That is the spirit the so-called black man had to get on them again. Fight for the Most High even unto death. Always bending an ensign to cater for society and remaining in the same place, which is hell. And the so-called black man realizing, but wait now, you have none to lose. The so-called black man not realizing you don't have anything to lose. So the Most High put you in a real good place. You know he put you in hell. Because it had nothing below hell. You're suffering. You're in the lowest point. So if you're in the lowest point and you have nothing to lose, your grandfather never spring, your parents never spring, you never spring, then you realize, no, but watch, what you gonna cost me to serve the Most High? I'm going someplace beyond hell. You're done in hell already. But the white man keep putting that illusion and hope for the so-called black man in his empire. Like all this American market in America a long time, like the land of opportunity. He creating a hope for you in hell and deceiving you. You understand what I'm saying? So no, you can't see outside the box, as we just say. You understand? Right? I feel I'll wrap up with this. Give me the book of Jeremiah chapter 2 and verse 33.
So
I don't read it. Show it. The right thing out. 2 and Jeremiah chapter 2. I'll get this one more script here before we wrap up. And 33. Give me the book of Jeremiah chapter 2 and verse 33.
The book of Jeremiah chapter 2 and verse 33. Why trimmest thou thy way to seek love?
And this is an important question. Just as we just said, you are not to lose so-called black man. So why are you trimming your ways to seek love? And that love is a false hope. Since when the oppressor love you? Since when the East Indians love you? Or the Chinese? Or the Syrians? When they ever show you love? So the big question is, when the white man show you love? So then the big question is, why you trimming your ways to seek love? When they ever show you love? You go through any length of history, you can't show where the oppressor show you love. And you know what you're trying to do still? When the Most High sending the coronavirus and crippling the empire, you still trying to trim your ways to seek their love. You still trying to blend in like Adam and Eve in the garden. You still trying to celebrate Valentine's Day when you supposed to cut them off. You understand what I'm saying? In all ways, spiritually, financially, every way, cut them off. Because as a general, I think it was General Ania Shamar, the Michael posted this, he's saying the ghetto not poor. That is why the heathen setting up all the business in the ghetto and sucking out all the money. You understand? So we have to separate from them and keep the economic power among ourselves. You understand? Build we own businesses and support we own businesses. Set up your own economic structure. Why we trimming we way to seek love? Since in the Garden of Eden, they never get love from the heathen. How come you looking for that now still? That is thousands of years. Read on.
Therefore, hast thou also taught the wicked ones thy ways.
Right? No, thou hast taught the wicked one thy ways. You understand what I'm saying? We showing the oppressor now. You understand what I'm showing you? How to keep we in servitude. That's all we're doing right now. We making them know now. You see this pattern we have here? When the heads sit down and the watch, this is the pattern we have. We are Easter, we are Valentine's Day, we are Christmas. This pattern what we have here, this system we have set up here, keeping black people right where we want them to be. You understand what I'm saying? The mark of the beast on them. Can't see the way. You understand what I'm saying? So it's time for the so-called black man, Native Indian man, and Hispanic man, right, to wake up and understand that we are of the 12 lost tribes of the nation of Israel. We are the Israelites according to the Bible. The priests and the prophets in the I.S.U.P.K are the priests of the Lord. And now turn from our repent, which just means turn away from what we are accustomed doing. Turn away from pork, crab, lobster, and shrimp, and believing voting to solve the problem and all our mess, and turn back to we culture. You understand? And this is going to give the so-called black man power, rulership, the kingdom of the Most High once again. All right, and with that, I pass the class over to Priest and Officer Maikwa.
This is the I.S.U.P.K security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yohanna. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or a sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. After 6 months, if a brother or a sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to the brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After the 6-month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. You can find this in Numbers chapter 18 and verse 21 and Malachi chapter 3 verses 8 to 10. Means tenth in the Hebrew and is pronounced ma'ashra. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, you give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like to give. Upcoming holy convocation. The upcoming holy convocation is the feast of Purim, which is the 14th day and the 15th day of the 12th month on the Hebrew calendar, which is Thursday, February 25th and Friday, February 26th, 2021. You can find this in Esther chapter 9, verses 20 to 31. Remind Archeum and Aquathium to check on social media, such as ISUPK.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for I.S.U.P.K events and materials. If a brother wants to be a trooper in the school, then he is to start wearing all black, which includes black boots, like shirt, like pants, like headbands or scarf. And with that, we say, imagine. Say, sir, you're going to turn and face the east and begin with the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. Yes, sir.
Abanawa,
Shabbat Shemayim,
Kwadash,
Haya,
Shamka,
Yahweh, Malawaka, Taba'a, Ratazaka, Haya, Aisha, Barataza, Kawa, Haya, Washamaya, the thunder now, Lakam, Kal, Yawam, Wasalakna, Kawawatna, Kasalakna, Kawawatna, Wala'a, Tabayana, Wanasayawan, Abad, Hawasino, Mayan, Right, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Wahala, Wataparat, Iwalamia, Aman.
What we said in the English was our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done.
In earth
as it is in heaven. Give us this day. Our daily bread. And forgive us. Our debts. As we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation. But deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom. And the power. And the glory. Forever. So be it.
We're going to say the blessings in the Hebrew. Barakatah Yahweh. Wa Yahushai. Wa Makala. Wa Alahaya. Matazabia. Alawap Yohanna. Ha Alawapio. Ha Saranium. Ha Kwatazayanyam. Ha Kayalianyam. Wa Akwapio. Yahweh. Bashem. Yahushai. To Wada Aman.
What he said in the English was, bless you Yahweh, and Yahushai, and Michael, and the angel, commanding General Yohanna, generals, captain, officers, and the troopers, and the sisters, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, thank you, so be it. You're going to say the hakak, or the power in the Hebrew. Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bawakasha, the thunder now, Hakak, Rapa, Kalmakala, Wakal Manawo, Hakak, Lata, Hamatazarium, Hakak, Lahakoya, Hamataya, Hakak, Ayakawa, Hakamayala, Lagarasham, Bahasham, Yahushai, to Wada Aman. What we said in English was Yahweh.
Yahweh.
In the name of
In the
Yahushua.
name of Yahushua.
Please give us the power.
Please give us the
The
power.
power to heal.
The power to heal.
All manner of sickness.
All manner of sickness.
And all manner of disease.
And all manner of disease.
The power to cleanse the
The
leper.
power to cleanse the leper.
The power to raise the dead.
The power to raise the
The
dead.
power against unclean
The
spirits.
power against unclean
To
spirits.
cast them
To
out.
cast them out.
In the name of Yahushua.
In the name of Yahushua.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So be it.
So be it.
These are the I.S.U.P.K curses. Blessed are you, Yahweh.
Blessed are you, Yahweh,
King of heaven and earth.
King of heaven and earth.
And all things living.
And all things living.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
In the name of Yahushua.
In the name of Yahushua.
Listen to us now.
Listen to us now.
Right now.
Right now.
Send evils and curses.
Send evils and curses.
And punishment and
And
destruction.
punishment and destruction.
To the heathen.
To the heathen.
That speak against
That
us.
speak against us.
Thy prophets.
Thy prophets.
The teachers.
The teachers.
The princes.
The princes.
The priests.
The priests.
The Israelite
The
brothers.
Israelite brothers.
And the schools.
And the schools.
Send evils and curses.
Send evils and curses.
And punishment and
And
destruction.
punishment and destruction.
To the heathen.
To the heathen.
And shake loose.
And shake loose.
The treasure.
The treasure
Of the rich of Israel.
of the rich of
That
Israel.
refuse to give to the
That
school.
refuse to give to the school.
Force their riches.
Force their riches.
To enter into thy
To enter
sanctuary.
into thy sanctuary.
Send evils and curses.
Send evils and curses.
And punishment and
And
destruction.
punishment and destruction.
To the
To
Edomites.
the Edomites.
And the nations.
And the nations.
And their drug
And
dealers.
their drug dealers.
The court
The
system.
court system.
The prison
The
system.
prison system.
Planned Parenthood.
Planned Parenthood.
All the governments of our
All the
enemies.
governments of our enemies.
Amalek synagogues and armies.
Amalek synagogues and armies.
Roman Catholic Church.
Roman Catholic
The
Church.
Pope.
The Pope.
Islam.
Islam.
Christianity.
Christianity.
Egyptology.
Egyptology.
Militia.
Militia.
Ku Klux
Ku
Klan.
Klux Klan.
Aryan Nation.
Aryan nations.
Skinheads.
Skinheads.
Hosikomotazi.
Hosikomotazi.
The gay movement.
Gay movement.
The lesbian.
Lesbian movement.
Spies.
Spies.
Workers of witchcraft.
Workers of witchcraft.
NASA space program.
NASA space program.
Army.
Army.
Navy.
Navy.
Air Force.
Air Force.
Marine.
Marine.
Wall Street.
Wall Street.
Open up the internet.
Open up the internet.
Open up the internet.
Open up the internet.
And the airwaves.
And the airwaves.
The cable
The
access
cable
channel.
access channels.
And the radio.
And the
channel.
radio channels.
Convict the spirit
Convict the spirit
of any of thy people
of any of thy
that
people
seek to stop
that
us
seek to stop us
and bring swift destruction
and bring swift destruction
to all the heathen.
to all the heathen.
To all the
To
heathen
all the heathen
that stand in the way.
that stand in the
Or
way
try to stop
or
us
try to stop
from
us
broadcasting your
from
words
broadcasting your word
throughout the planet.
throughout the planet Earth.
Let loose all the plagues.
Let's lose all the plagues.
Cause them to go to and fro
Cause them to go through and
to
fro
the earth
to the earth
and consume
and
them.
consume them.
Let the plagues
Let the plague
shake the house of the thief
shake the house of the thief
and the murderer.
and the murderer.
Let Yahushua,
Let Yahushua,
Michael,
Michael,
and Gabriel
and Gabriel
come down
come down
with the flying
with the
saucers
flying saucers
and punish all the heathen
and punish all the heathen
that come up against
that
us
come against
as
us
we speak thy word.
as we speak thy word.
Cause it to be known by all
Cause it to be known by all
that it is the angels
that it is the
that
angels
have done it.
that have done it.
Cause it to be spread
Cause it to be spread
to the media,
through the media,
to the whole world.
throughout the whole world.
Cause them to shake at thy
Cause
call.
them to shake at thy
In
coming.
the name of Yahushua.
In the name of Yahushua.
Thank you all.
Thank you always.
So be it.
So be it. We're going to say the blessed Israel. In the Hebrew, Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Ba'ashem.
Yahushua.
Yahushua. Barak Lanawa.
Nawa.
Wa'ashala.
Yashala.
Wahabayah.
Wahaya.
Sapariah.
Sapariah.
Barak.
Barak.
Rapa.
Rapa.
Magan.
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 Magan. Commanding General
The
Yahanna.
manager Yahanna.
All the generals.
All the generals.
All the captains.
Captains.
All the officers.
All the officers.
All the troopers.
All the troopers.
All the students.
All the students.
Shamka.
Shamka.
Kaya.
Kaya.
Yapa.
Yapa.
Para.
Para. Commander Yahanna.
Commanding General Yahanna.
General.
General.
The captain.
Captains.
The officers.
Officers.
The troopers.
The troopers.
The
The
sisters.
sisters.
And the children.
And the children.
All the destroyed of Israel.
All the destroyed of Israel.
And all those fighting to come to the truth.
And all those fighting to come into the truth.
John family.
John family.
The Koto family.
Toto family.
Alexis family.
Alexis family.
And Philip family.
Philip family.
Ba'ashem.
Ba'ashem.
Yahushai.
Yahushai.
To Wada Aman.
Wada Aman. What we said in the English was, Lord,
Lord,
in the name of Yahushua,
in the name of Yahushai,
bless us
bless us
and Israel
and Israel
and the school.
and the school.
Bless,
Bless,
heal,
she,
protect
protect
our loved
our
ones.
loved ones.
In the name of Yahushua.
In the name of Yahushai.
Thank you.
We thank you.
So be it.
So be it. Sir, Men of Israel, let's give the teacher a one courtesy salute. Imagine Shabbat. Imagine. Barak. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Brakatah.
Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Brakatah.
Yad Yad Matah. Men of Israel, let's give the sisters online a one courtesy salute. Imagine Shabbat. Imagine. Barak. Yahweh Shema Latan Ba'ashem Yahushai. Yad Yad Matah. Class dismissed.